Hello again, my name is Sandra and I'm back with more business. And utility tariffs budget for businesses will remain unchanged at least for the next 5 months. This is because the Public Utility Regulatory Commission has decided to keep tariffs unchanged till July this year. But what would this mean for firms looking to cut down cost of doing business actually in the country? This is a report by George Biafi.
The amount of money businesses spend on power consumed have always been one of their biggest expenditure items on their budget. Depending on their consumption levels, some firms have even been forced to downsize their operations in order to still stay in business. Therefore, the decision by the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission to keep the tariff levels unchanged for the next 5 months could come as a big relief to businesses. This is because any profit that they would be making in the coming months, which would have been channeled to pay these tariffs, could be directed to other areas, like reinvesting in the business or carry out some expansion or deal with other related costs. The Public Utilities Regulatory Commission argues that it had to defer this review because some factors that would impact on these tariff appraisals are still being assessed. But as businesses celebrate this move, can we say that it could cripple some of the utility companies that were pushing for increases in tariff levels? Well, the Executive Secretary of the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, Amit Dufie, insists the decision would not spell doom for the sector. What about those who might say that businesses should hold on to their celebrations for now because there is the likelihood that utility tariffs could be going up in July? Well, let's wait and see. As some would always say, the time will tell.
So we stay on this development. I've been joined in the studio by research analyst with the Institute of Energy Security, Mikdad Mohammed, for a discussion on this development. Thanks so much for your time on business. Now, I'm sure you've seen and you've read the reason for maintaining tariffs as it stands now, and one being that car powership will be relocated to the western region, and of course it's going to be on gas now. So obviously it might come cheaper producing power. But again, in the face of all the liquidity challenges facing all these service providers, will you say that it's more of a political decision than a wise one?
Well, thank you very much. First and foremost, the PURC is supposed to be an independent regulator in the computation of tariff, but we all know that the head of the PURC is a political appointee, and the appointing authority is an outcome of an election. The appointing authority got the power to appoint him from an election in which those who suffer the brunt of an increment in tariff are the voters. So consequently, they know that when they make announcements of tariff increments, it necessarily doesn't favor the appointing authority.
Right.
And I think that realistically, we should be looking at increment in tariff. Because if you look at the books of ECG, now PDS, we don't expect PDS to continue the incompetent, inefficient operational and technical management practices of ECG that incurred debts which are accumulating for the year 2018 alone. And we have made consistent reference to this debt because we think that when you have formulated a special purpose vehicle like ESLA to pay off old debts, you don't be running a marathon at accumulating new debts. So
the last time we checked, the energy minister was saying it's about 2.2 billion.
Yes, for the first half of the year 1.1, second half 1.1, which is roughly about 1.83 billion Ghana cedis debt every month. So even for the deferring of this tariff announcement to June, we can say that it is a financial loss to PDS, which has just taken over, and we don't expect them to be taking tough decisions yet. They'll be looking at management level decisions. But it will mean that by the time the new announcement of tariff will come, there would have been roughly about 400 million Ghana cedis fresh debts on the books waiting for them. One of the things that we didn't consider in discussing the movement of ownership from ECG, asset ownership from ECG to PDS, is the issue of government's own indebtedness to Electricity Company of Ghana, which is the fact that bungalows and state institutions have been resistant to the idea of using prepaid meters. They have used power, they have not paid for it. a huge chunk of the debts
but again,
on the books of ECG are for
but
government.
again, we've been told that they want to put all these government institutions on solar to be able to cut the cost and all that, and reduce the burden on ECG and all that.
It is one of the most, it's a ridiculous idea.
Why?
Because 2 years ago, we mooted the idea and entrusted the Energy Commission with that duty. For the whole of 2018, 2017 and 2018, they could only do about 264 solar lamps. I mean, that is just for the whole of that year. Because when they mooted the idea, it's a whole discussion on its own. It's a huge failure, a ridiculous failure that we have engaged the Energy Commission on, because we needed some answers. And year on year, the State of the Nation address fails to improve upon or give a report of what became of the idea. So for that, I don't think, until I see it, I think it is one thing we should put aside.
I see. You don't support the idea, but let's quickly move on. But I think that one of the issues has to do with interference. I mean, why is ECG over the years, they've not been able to speak for themselves to say that this is what we are going through and we can kick against? Obviously, you've said it's political appointment, but I know new owners will be an easy walkover. But what should they be doing differently to be able to solve these inefficiencies in the system? Well,
we expect MIDA, and of course with the support of we in civil society, to keep our eyes open on PDS. We don't expect them to continue to do the things ECG used to do because of the political interference.
Right.
For example, one of the components of debts, one of the reasons why we have accumulated debts in this industry is the forex matter here. And this is because 80% of the industry is computed in the transactions are in dollars.
Right.
So where the cedi suffers against the dollar, it becomes a problem in costing. Eventually, it passes on to the final consumer. We anticipate that where some of these things come up, PDS will be able to do the right thing by ensuring that the amounts which they are charging for power are realistic.
Right.
It reflects the cost of producing the power from the IPPs, the cost of transmitting it using the transmission infrastructure of GridCo, and then distributing it with the asset they have acquired from ECG. In realistic terms, so that you don't have situations where you are buying the power at 59 cents per kilowatt per hour and you are forced, because the politician has reduced the price for residential and commercial users, to sell at 42 cents per kilowatt per hour.
I think it's a conversation we have to carry on, and especially the cedi's performance against major trading currencies. How is that going to play, especially when it wasn't mentioned? But time now to check the commodity markets, and crude oil went up marginally to sell at $60.70 a barrel. Government says it has begun paying contractors for projects executed and that gets fund. We have details plus other local stories in our summary.
A report by the Bank of Ghana that assesses the impact of external shocks on Ghana's economy has revealed the city's depreciation against the US dollar is expected to continue throughout the year, as global events show more external threats ahead. Government on Wednesday said it has started paying contractors for projects that have been executed under GET Fund. A number of contractors are said to have received their checks after a protracted delay. The world's two biggest cocoa producers are considering setting a minimum price for their beans in a bid to derive more value from the growing chocolate ingredient. Bloomberg reports Ivory Coast and Ghana are in talks to study a price that will fall in a range of £1,700 to £2,000 per metric ton on a free on-board basis.
Time now to say goodbye on Business with me, Sandra S. and I'm Afenu. Thanks so much for your time this evening. But for more news, do log on to our website, myjoyonline.com/business. Have a great evening.